한쌈 소세지.
Hello everybody, we had some sausages and today we're going to be reacting, well, sort of, also reviewing ATEEZ's latest album, The World Episode 2 Outlaw, going through the entire tracks once again now that we've heard every single track in this album and reacted to it. If you want like a very specific and full-on commentary on each track, check out the videos that we've already reacted to. It's all on our channel. We're going to be skipping through the tracks here. We got the entire album playlist here in front of us, sort of listening and then talking about certain things, but mostly in perspective of the album as a whole. How the track fits to the album, the theme, musically. Now, before we start, thank you everybody who's supporting our channel over at our Patreon page. If you want to have a say in what we react to next, get extra contents and all those lovely stuff, check out our Patreon page. The link is in the description below. We're reacting to every single ATEEZ music. We may even be doing this type of video album review, what we thought about the album as a whole, for those early albums as well down the road. So if you want to get access to all those stuff, go to our Patreon page. Again, the link is in the description below. Now, before we get to the actual tracks, what did you think about this album in general? What's your thoughts here?
This album is the hardest hitting album that I've ever heard in my life. I could say they really followed their concept really well, made us to imagine such a mood or areas. And the legend says Jongho is still being tortured. Jongho's everywhere, screaming, shouting all the time.
True.
Let him rest. Oh
That's
my god.
true. This album is definitely one of a kind in that it's really, really hard to define the genre.
We've been talking about it off the camera. Like, what genre is this? What genre?
It's super hard.
ATEEZ.
It's ATEEZ, yeah. And so hopefully we'll have enough vocabulary to describe each track, because it's very difficult. Let's start with This World.
Oh my god.
Let's go.
Okay, so first of all, like intro and outro synth, when they started like building up and like, slowly coming down. It was first time hearing those kind of stuff in K-pop. The verse chord progression creates that suffering and frustrating mood.
And even from the intro, like the build up and how the things speed up, it creates the tension right off the bat. And it's like the first track of the album.
And they used a lot of like large saw synth, and vocals were pretty wet. Usually they tend to be like a bit dry, but this one was really, really wet if you listen carefully.
Yeah, this part was also very interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because it has that drum and bass sound to it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And mind you, this is a very fast song, right?
Right.
Like, I'm sure the BPM is easily over 140.
So they halfened it before, and then right now they're putting back as a fast tempo. They're just like putting more rhythms in front so that it creates that fastness with that distorted speakerphone voice.
Right.
That's what
that radio filter kind of thing.
That's what's giving the propaganda moment. All those aspects together create that end of the world feeling for this world,
which really sets up this world and this album in general. Yeah, this section right here, if you listen to the drum, the snare becomes very metallic in the ATEEZ typical style. With one of the best rap entrants I've ever heard from ATEEZ. The way they enter, it becomes so underground, and it goes from this big wide world into this underground fight scene. And I thought that's just brilliant.
So at the very end part, this part, did you hear it?
Yeah.
Like they're shooting like a missile or throwing a bomb sound. It creates that huge dystopian war demolished environment.
Really sets the ground for what is to come in this album and in this world. Mind you, we're not even really paying attention to the specifics of the lyrics, but solely basing our perception of music itself. It still tells a story that really works well with the overall album.
We're actually not gonna talk about lyrics mostly.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
So it could be completely wrong. It could be this world is very hopeful.
but at least for the flow of the album, I think this is the perfect first track. And you'll eventually get to what we have to say when it comes to the final track, but there is a little twist where This World and Outlaw has this very interesting relationship. We'll get to that down the road. Now let's get to Dune. like right off the bat, the way the track starts, it's a very interesting melody for a K-pop song. On the second track,
Yeah.
there's that mystery to the introduction of this song, which I really like.
So there's that continuation of negativity throughout.
That sinister atmosphere that they're creating. And when and do you hear the string there?
Yeah.
The best way I could express this song is that this is very Halloween-esque.
Oh,
the
yeah,
album,
yeah.
it has that operatic, classical feel to it, where if you listen to songs like Toccata and Fugue in D minor by Bach, infamous horror-themed nowadays, at least in horror movies in the 80s and 90s, music, there is a lot of overlapping sounds and motifs in this album where they use that kind of pattern, and that's one of the things that blur what kind of genre they're using, because they have sources from all kinds of genres mixing together to create this one-of-a-kind ATEEZ sound.
To me, this pre-chorus was very similar to This World.
Yeah.
With this harmonization and
then it becomes really, really calm.
the chord. The song structure and the progression of the music was very guerrilla-like.
Yeah.
The 80s guerrilla. Because it starts off with that very heavy hip-hop style verse, and then they go with short harmonized pre-chorus style, was creating that tension and desperation, and chorus is creating that dystopian feeling again with that anxiousness. It's huge, wide.
It's also interesting that a lot of the melodies, again, are very bendy, if you will. Like, it's not clear cut, and they're playing around like, oh.
So this part over here, even the lyrics by itself, they're talking about the despair, especially after the second chorus part. This part over here, the choir creates that very hard, anxious images.
Right. Next up is Bouncy, K-Hot Chili Peppers. It's also interesting, before we even get to this song, that this track is track 3 out of 6. Usually title tracks tend to be in 2 or 3.
2 or 3, yes.
Because that's like the most memorable section of the album, generally speaking. Of course, it depends on how many songs are in the album.
It's like a course meal too, you know?
Yeah. That's true. Like the main chorus time, right?
So over here, when you start listening, it finally starts with a bit of hope.
And it does have like more conventional feel to it musically.
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
And the verse part over here, it's very interesting that the verse synth chord is driving very negative with semitonal movements, but melodical line completely goes reversal with major, and that creates triumph feeling too. And I really like this one. How they did the vocal FX sweep sound with their vocals.
Yeah.
Like, whoop. Usually it's like, shh. Really love this parrot voice. Like, nobody uses this. Like, you can't use it.
That's another thing. Again, with the usage of vocal sounds to create an instrument-like usage, and as well as using buzzsaw-like sharp
That is so true.
sounds.
Buzzy, yeah.
Like, it's very industrial. Like I said, the underground fight scene, as well as very classical, operatic, theatrical. And you know, if you've seen Kingdom, you know how much ATEEZ enjoy using classical music to combine with their version of the songs to create something that's very new and grand and epic. Mind you, they are sailing, they are pirates, so it makes sense to have that epicness, and you can see that here as well, except it's the Outlaw, so it has more of that underground feel to it.
And that's why their chord progressions are most likely unconventional of pop songs.
That's true.
It's not like continuation of like, you know, rolling 4 chords or anything that you have ever heard. It's mostly like borrowed from the old stuffs, and it's creating.
Yeah, like even from the start, if we kind of go back to the discussion of This World, the main motif from what I heard is it's in minor, I think, and it goes like 1 minor 3 4 5. They progressively build that in a different way that I really enjoy.
And just like you said, if you listen very carefully, the instrumental by itself, it's a mix of the This World and a Dune.
Yeah, sure.
So,
yeah, exactly.
Like just like chords, synth, like distortion and stuff like that, and That's
they're kind of building on top of it to create this
yeah.
flow. So if you do listen to the album in order, you see that cumulative effect take place and explode in this song.
But where those other two songs tend to have only minors, this one, because of the major moments and the lyrics, it gives that hyped up mood, and also it gives that triumph image. And bouncy.
Yeah. Right, next up is Django. All right, so even like the introduction itself, super sinister, super sad almost.
Again, like right after the triumph, it goes back to the desperate state of mind after bouncy. It's like, oh, it's so sad.
And
like,
you may have noticed with us talking about fugue and with us talking about classical music and Halloween, there's a lot of organ sounds, right? Even in This World, there was that very Halloween horror night sound kind of organ sound.
Large organ
Here
sound.
too, the way they start with this.
Although it's like electrical piano stuff, but it's really like a pattern of organ.
Yeah, exactly.
For this one, the rhythm and like the placements of the synth created that side hat nod bouncy thing. The rhythm is just like.
See this section too, with the staccato string, same thing.
And first bit of B-side track feeling out of the
but at least from the album. I mean, technically it has passed the halfway mark. Is that a acoustic bass, contrabass?
It is. It's a contrabass.
Do you hear it? Yeah.
This last hook gives that naughty street gang feeling. Yeah. You know, like 멋쟁이신사, that kind of stuff like that. Like we're gangsters.
That's a really important mood to describe, because the reason why this song feels a little more B-sided is because of that kind of feeling where the chorus, when it unfolds, not only is it slower and more sustained, it also has that tone, right? That as if you're giving up. Like it has that feeling instead of going upwards. It feels like two vampires are dancing in a ballroom. It has that. Again, it goes to this Halloween feeling. But the way the minor progressions are going, it feels more relaxed, right? More relaxed than the other songs.
And again, this is really a musical. We're talking about.
There are no vampires here. There's cowboys, but there's no vampires. Next up is Chaemyeon.
Wake up.
Wake up.
Hypnotize.
Chaemyeon, hypnotize. Hypnosis. Let's go.
Hypnosis, yes. Listen, this one, starting with Do You Hear My Voice, gives us that weird imagination in dystopian places.
But the actual verse is way more compact and minimal than you may have imagined from the opening.
I really like this R&B like chord progression.
Yeah, it started out of nowhere.
Yeah, out of nowhere. In chorus, although like the chord progression is very desperate, this type of like the whispery harmonization gives a bit of hope and angelic feeling, but then goes completely reversal with this guerrilla looking type.
The percussive attack is crazy. Yeah, and that was like one of the best Hongjung raps. Like whenever Hongjung raps, it's just
Again, this one, the vocal mix is also wet too.
Yeah.
And Jongho is still being tortured.
Yeah, and it goes back and forth, like you said, with vocal harmonization, and then reversing it with this very hard-hitting percussion, and then introducing the harmony again, and then going right into Hongjung's rap, and it's a constant bumpy road that you are going in between waking up and dreaming. It's like you're fighting between two state of mind or two state of reality, and that is very well expressed through this music, I think.
Listen to this.
Bass note change, the chord progression change, going down.
Yeah.
That makes everything feel so much more, I guess, ominous.
Now Outlaw. This song is a very popular like style song to sing along together out of all 6 songs, I would say.
It also feels more laid back and slower.
And this one really has that main motif like...
That's true too.
This type of the motif continues to be transferred into vocal melodies or even strings or in the chorus.
That's true.
Or distorted synth and bass. The mood continues.
And that constant siren sound.
Yeah.
I love that. See, as you see, that's also carried on from Wake Up, building on top of the previous songs.
So like without notice, it was continuing, and the rhythm by itself, dum 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 dum. This one continues almost throughout the whole time of the song.
So you can almost say that like This World and Dune combined kind of explodes at Bouncy, and then you get Django and Wake Up to go into Outlaw.
Yes. See, even there's like piano and string part over here. It's like harmonizations over here too.
Yeah, and again, like if you listen to the songs in order again, whenever the song jumps to the next song, you'll see certain motifs returning, or at certain breaks, you'll be like, oh, I want to sing the previous song. But then it's the new song that comes in. So there's like repeating things mixed and blended in to carry over to the next song. Just like how ATEEZ usually does it within song as well, from section to section.
Here, they relax a bit in the bridge part.
That's true. Ooh,
But then they hammer us with a key change in the hook.
out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. It's done.
But see, through this accent, that's how you know it's the same song and it has the same motif.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun.
So
And see, they bring that back.
And then they end it with major, bubbly synth thingy. I would personally find that it's such a great song to end an album.
Yeah.
It's giving that optimism instead of pessimism.
Which is why it's unique, right?
It gives us an open end.
Right.
A bit.
It's almost a cliffhanger. Almost. Like you're like, wait, that's it?
Yeah. And there's that lingering moment of this album by itself, like the Outlaw album. So it's like, oh, there's something, and they end it.
Yeah,
like
and that's where This World and Outlaw comes back into the picture, because usually what we would have done, or what many of the people would have imagined ATEEZ would do, is switch the order of This World and Outlaw.
That would be
right?
so frustrating.
I know, right? I mean, no, as in, like, thematically, if you think about it, it feels like Outlaw type of message, musical message, where they're almost like this image of them being chased in a very cartoonish, fun, quirky way, introduces them and their existence as, like, are they villain or hero? And then end with this very strong proclamation that this is the world we live in, this is the world we are trying to change or control or influence. But instead, they start with this very strong figure and end with this very fun and cheerful and lighthearted, almost, outlaws that run off to the next destination, which will be the next album. And that's a very unique structure, album-wise, producing, brain-wise, to go in that order, to go with this, like, we are, whoever they are, they're super strong, they're super dominating. Like, again, we had this image of This World being ATEEZ on top of the stage in front of the podium, thousands of people just in masks watching them. And then we get to the pinnacle of that at Bouncy, and suddenly everything starts changing the mood, and their character shifts into this very fun Joker type of villain / protagonist, and they're running off as the sirens are playing in Outlaw, and it's a very, very unique album structure, I think.
Yeah, just can't wait for their next mini album.
Yeah, it's gonna be insane. They're coming back in December
4th or something like that.
First, I think.
First, okay.
Yeah. So we still got some time. We would love to do more of these stuff. If you have certain songs or album that you want us to check out, or live performances, always feel free to comment down below. This was super fun again to go through the album in full with you. I hope you really, really enjoyed this.
Thank you for letting us know about ATEEZ.
ATEEZ, we love you. We are baby 18 as well. So
Gigantinis. Wannabes.
So yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Have a great day, guys.